Okay, here it is. I'm making this face because I'm about to do something totally scary by giving you the numbers, the real live numbers of what I made my first full year in business month by month. And I'm doing this because if you are in the space where you have just launched your business, especially if you are side hustling, you're working a full-time job and then you're doing your business stuff on the side, I do not want you to despair if the money isn't pouring in right away, if you're not making in your side hustle what you're making in your day job, if you don't have 1,000 people on your newsletter list or people banging down your door, it is okay. Your business is a marathon. It is not a sprint, and we're here to play the long game. So I thought by shedding some light as to what I was making per month when I quit my job and what I made over the course of the first year, that will give you some insight, some inspiration, some real facts and figures as to like what a six-figure business 7 years later could look like and what it was when I started. So for those of you that don't know my backstory, the short version is that I started my life coaching certification in August of 2007 when I also became an executive assistant for a finance company. So I was working 50 hours a week doing that job, and I got my certification and launched my business and built my business on the side for 2 years and 7 months until I was as comfortable and confident as humanly possible, and I gave my notice in March of 2010. So it was the middle of the recession. I was quitting my stable job in finance that gave me a $60,000 base salary, plus health insurance, plus a 401k match, plus a bonus every March. I was leaving it to be the When I Grow Up coach of all silly things. But knock on wood, here I am 7 years later, almost to the day. And not only have I not had to look back, but I didn't even come close to hitting like the panic button or the emergency button. I didn't need to get bailed out. I never looked at getting another job. I was able to support myself and my family, contribute financially with what I needed to contribute financially, because I do not have a trust fund, nor am I a trophy wife, and be able to, not only support my family, but pay my mortgage and go on vacations and continue to eat out a couple times a week. We did not have to be hermits eating ramen noodles. And, here we are this past summer, we bought a house and moved out of New York City. And I looked at my husband and said, oh my gosh, he's been a freelancer for going on 4 years. I've been doing this for 7 years, and we made this happen enough to buy a house. So if I could do it, you could do it too. So here's how things look like back in 2010. And I'm going to be kind of looking back and forth because I have the spreadsheet of all spreadsheets next to me to look at this. So in January of 2010, this was about 2 months before I quit my job, I was only brought in $771.29 that month from my business. That was fully just one-on-one client work. In February, it increased a little bit. Maybe I got a new client. I don't keep as good of notes back then as I do now. Now I could tell you exactly what I did that month and where the money came from, but I can't back then. But anyway, I mean, $1,247.33. And March was about the same, $1,198.28. And in the middle of that month, I quit my job. So here I was only bringing in about $1,000 a month. But I felt okay about it because even though it was not anywhere near the type of money that I needed to contribute to my share of the expenses that I had with my husband, I knew that I saved up enough money to essentially give myself a severance, so I had a nice cushion when I quit. It was basically 5 months of my salary, which I knew I could stretch out to 7 if I needed to, and if I brought no money into my business. So even just knowing I could count on about $1,000 a month was a really big deal. And then at that point too, I had more people that wanted to work with me than I had time to work with. So I kind of took a deep breath and said, okay, well, if I take the leap and quit my job, then I'm going to have more time to coach and write books and do programs, and that's how I'm making up this money gap. But I can't do that until I quit. So I had to trust it. You're going to have to trust it too. So in April, I had another fairly lean month. I made $1,069.74. But then in May, the number crept up to $1,928.48. So here was almost a $2,000 month. In June, I made $3,709.87. In July, I made $57.78.89. In August, I made $7,355.31. In September, I made $4,300. In October, I made $5,800. In November, I made $5,700. And in December, I made $5,800. So, once I kind of got past that little like post-quit, little $1,000 in April, all of a sudden things kept growing, and then kind of plateauing. And all of a sudden I went from trusting I can make $1,000 to trusting that I can make $4,000 or $5,000. And that was a game changer. I could tell you from what I remember, and again, I don't have the exact notes to know exactly what I did, but from what I remember, I put a group coaching class together. And so I was not only doing one-on-ones with clients and taking on more one-on-one clients, but I put this group coaching program together where I was coaching groups of up to 4 women at a time. And I think I probably had 4 or 5 groups going at once. So that brought a nice influx of cash. Once I had these extra 50 hours a week, I wrote I'm laughing at myself. I wrote a illustrated rhyming career change workbook. So it was kind of crazy, but awesome. And I was selling that for quote unquote passive income. And then I probably created some sort of program along the way. So what's interesting is that for 2010 total, I brought in $44,738.54, which I was really proud of. But if you look at the first 3 months in January, February, March, where again, consistently this $5,000 point where I made $5,200 in January, $5,000 in February, and $5,900 in March. I added this all together to show like what was the number for my first full year in business, right? So from March to March, what did I make? I made $58,847.08. So my first full year of business, I almost hit my base salary mark. And yes, okay, I didn't get the 401k match. I didn't get the March bonus, but like I was really freaking proud of myself. And so I'm hoping that what you could take away here is that there's always going to be a leap of faith. There's always going to be trust in here. But if you have already set an example for yourself that you have shown up over and over, you've done the work, you've worked with the clients, you have people that want to work with you, then you could take a deep breath and most likely give your notice sooner rather than later. And bank on the fact that once you have this extra time that's opening up to you, you're going to be able to make it work and bring in the money that you need. So believe me, if I could do it as the When I Grow Up coach of all silly things to do in the middle of a recession, quit my stable job, and be here 7 years later with a 6-figure business, being able to say, oh my gosh, even in my first full year of business, in the middle of a recession, I made almost my base salary, then I hope you could take a deep breath and realize that you are on track to do this too. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.